Hey guys, it is Sunday, January 13, 2019. Making a video today. I was just thinking how history repeats itself. And what do I mean by that? When we look back at 2008 to where we're at now, 2019, there are some similarities. Back in 2008, the banks and the corporations enjoyed an abundance of free money. The U.S. citizen who bailed these banks and corporations out, while the banks and corporations gobbled up all the hard assets and distressed mortgages right here in America. Doesn't it seem very similar to what we're about ready to encounter here again, as we are on the verge of another collapse, this one being much worse than 2008. But what do you think is going to happen? It's all going to be orchestrated by the central banks. It's going to be another gigantic wealth transfer, the biggest the world has ever seen. 2008 was the biggest the world has ever seen. The next one, whether that be 2019, 2020, 2025, whenever it may be, it will be, if it does happen, if it is not stopped, it will be the biggest wealth transfer in the history of the entire world. If Powell continues to raise rates this year in 2019, if he continues to cut the $50 billion a month off the Fed balance sheets, we're going to see big trouble here in America. The goal of the central banks is to gain more economic authority, more power, more control. So, is this a possibility? Could we see this? Are we seeing this happening right now? I think we are. Should we be preparing right now? Absolutely, without a doubt, you need to be preparing. You better be holding hard assets like the banks are going to be doing. You better be holding gold and silver. We may be witnessing a controlled demolition of this economy and of these markets right now. The only thing keeping this whole thing propped up, keeping these markets propped up is President Trump with some good news. We get some good news in regards to the China trade negotiation, where yet it's gone nowhere, but just a little bit of good news seems to just prop everything up and keep it going. Jerome Powell comes out now saying he's going to be a bit dovish, but do we believe him? Will he really be dovish in 2019, or will we see two hikes in 2019? We don't know yet, but they seem to just, be keeping things cool right now. And I don't blame Trump for coming out and trying to help these markets. He does not want this to come down under his watch, without a doubt. And I truly believe he's trying to do everything in his power to get this economy and get these markets moving again. There's going to be some huge losses here. The naive investors and the pensions, all these unfunded pensions who are gambling in these markets. These are the two main groups that are going to suffer the most, the investor and the pensions. And this thing, when it blows up, I don't know what we're going to see in regards to pensions in the country, what effects we're going to see. We may see all-out violence when people lose their pensions. Right now we're seeing pensions throughout the country, people getting 20-30% cuts, even more. What happens if these markets blow up? These pensions are all invested in the Ponzi scheme, and some people may think it's bad to get a 20 or 30% cut. What happens when it's an 80% cut? Or what happens if you have no pension? Your pension just gets annihilated. When people lose everything and they're broke and they have nothing left to lose, they're going to go absolutely ballistic. And so I believe it's a huge possibility that we see a multitude of pensions in this country really get rocked. And I think that some of them will be obliterated, gone, and people will be desperate with holding nothing. Again, people that puts too much faith into the government, too much faith into these markets, just too much faith into these Ponzi schemes. You need to be your own central bank. You need to be putting something away to prepare, because what if your pension or your 401k gets obliterated and you don't have it, or it gets cut in half? Can you survive? So another reason why you need to be holding assets. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but I truly believe from what we're witnessing right now, what we're seeing today is setting the trend for what's going to happen tomorrow. If we're pretty much broke today, how do you think we're going to have the money to pay for pensions and retirements tomorrow? Of course, Donald Trump will get the blame for everything. We're gonna see everything quite possibly come down under his reign. This is what the central banks would love to do. This is their secret weapon to take Donald Trump out, is to blow up the economy. We got a real good taste of their power in December when he got his 7th rate hike under his term. And we saw what it was doing to the markets. We saw the power of the central banks, how they can spiral this country literally into a Great Depression quite quickly. I believe that the worst is yet to come. So make sure you are preparing with food and water and hard assets and security. Of course, it's not only going to be bad here, it's going to be bad all over the world. The emerging markets, which are submerging in debt, there's going to be global panic throughout the world. There's an article right here, insolvency filing soar in almost all Canadian provinces. This is in Zero Hedge, came out a couple days ago. They're seeing record-breaking bankruptcies in Canada. So the Canadian market is starting to head into some big trouble. Their real estate market is in huge trouble. And that affects us too. This area that I live in right now, there at one point, 30% of all the home buyers in the Coachella Valley here were Canadian. I'm not sure what the number is for 2018, but a few years back, there were 30% of the buyers of real estate out here. And there's still a big there's still a big section of the buyers here in the Valley. And so when things get bad in Canada, that affects the local real estate market right here. It affects all the bars, it affects the hotels, it affects the restaurants, because if things are getting bad up there, they're not coming down here to spend money, right? They're not going to be going to San Diego or Orange County, other parts of the country that they may visit during the winter. So the retailers see less money, the service sector is going to see less money, and the real estate market is going to see less money as things get worse up in Canada. Soaring restaurant prices signal inflation is much higher than official data suggests. This is another article in Zero Hedge. And for anybody that says that there is no inflation or inflation is not going up, they're drinking the Kool-Aid. Just go to the grocery store, go look at car prices, look at housing prices, go to a restaurant. Just go take a look at anything you're going to buy at a store today and see if it's more than it was a year ago or 5 years ago. Again, restaurants, grocery stores, automobiles, cars. Your money is buying a lot less than it was a couple years ago. And another reason why you need to be protecting your wealth with owning hard assets. New home sales tanked 19% to end 2018. That was an article a couple days ago on MSNBC. The market right now in Southern California, at least, and I believe maybe parts of Arizona and Texas, is you have the middle-class Chinese market still buying real estate. They're still one of their favorite states is California. And another reason why the real estate market may not be as bad as it could be, because we still have Chinese money flowing into Southern California, Los Angeles, Orange County, and San Diego. We don't see too much Chinese money out here in the desert, but I would say a majority of it is going to be Los Angeles and Orange County. But without those buyers right now, where would the real estate markets be, at least on the West Coast? I think it would be a lot worse. So they're still coming and buying, but it's not going to be enough to save this real estate market as it is on its way down. And again, when everything does break and we see an economic explosion take place and the housing market gets destroyed again, it's going to be corporations and banks and investors that come in and gobble this stuff up for pennies on the dollar. And you can bet the Chinese will be gobbling it up also, as they right now are gobbling up ranches, farms, cattle ranches, pig farms, things like that. They're coming in and buying. They're using their monopoly U.S. dollars, and they're coming into America, and we're selling them farms and ranches. And their middle class sector is coming in and buying houses. So America is for sale. And it's really unfortunate to see the direction that this country is going in, that, our farms are being sold to the Chinese, and our middle class here can't afford to buy a house, but the middle class Chinese can come over and buy a house here in America and typically pay cash for it. Mortgage applications plummet nearly 10% to the end of 2018, despite lower prices. That was another article, I believe, CNBC. New report says New York's real estate downturn is deepening and may not hit bottom for months. So even some of the priciest parts of the country here in Southern and Northern California, New York, prices are starting to lower, sales are going down, and real estate now is beginning to slide off the cliff. You have to ask yourself, if this country really, really sees serious times. There was an article also on Zero Hedge that I read today that our grid was hacked in 2016, and it has been hacked multiple times since 2016. They believe it may be the Russians, but they cannot verify that. It could be North Korea, it could be China, it could be an array of countries that have hacked us. So there are countries out there now that have the technology to hack into our grid and shut us down. What would you do? And please comment below. What would you do in the event that you live in a sector of the country that was hacked and now your electricity is out? What would we do as Americans, since we're so reliant on the government, so reliant on the system, so reliant to flip a switch and the lights come on, flip a switch, the lights go off, turn the water on, turn the water off, flip a switch, the air conditioning or the heat comes on. What would we do as Americans if our grid got hacked? Are we prepared? I would say 99% of America is not. And again, this is why I'm making these videos, to wake up as many people as possible why you should own food, water, medical supplies, a trauma kit, gold, silver, having cash put away that you can access. And my number one thing is security. If you cannot protect your medical supplies, your food supplies, your gold, your silver, your cash, if you cannot protect it, you don't really own it, because somebody will come and take it from you. They could take your life. They could take a family member's life. None of this is worth anything if you cannot protect it. So security, number one. Make sure you are training. Make sure that your family has a plan, and make sure that everybody is proficient in your family with a firearm, because we are now living in a time in America where nobody has to drop a bomb on an electrical system. Nobody has to, poison water with some biological weapon. All they have to do now is hack us with a computer and shut it all down. And so we're very vulnerable. And this is why I believe we should all be preparing right now while we can, because we don't know when or where something is going to happen. But we know that the potential is out there. And if you know that the possibility that potential exists, don't take the chance. You owe it to yourself and your family to be well protected and prepared. Here's another article, very, very eye-opening. Grocery stores would run out of food in 3 days if long-haul truckers stopped working. So imagine if something happened to our grid, and these people, these companies could not operate without, the satellite systems, navigation, communications. What if we had some kind of terrorist attack that blew up a freeway and they could not access food to your area for months? Grocery stores, if they're not getting those trucks in, they're out of food in 3 days. And then compound that with an EBT system going out because now the grid's not functioning. So how do we get the EBT system to work? How do we get these people fed if they cannot, swipe that plastic card and get that food? What would happen? We would not only have that as an emergency, our grid being down, but we would see civil unrest on steroids. We would see this country in turmoil. We would see people killing one another within a couple days. There's no doubt about that. Again, this is why you need to be preparing, because these possibilities exist, and they exist unlike any other time we've ever lived in. We are literally one event away from something big happening. Another thing I want to talk about really quick is possible bank runs in France this week. The yellow vests. Why are we not seeing any of this on the media? I cannot find anything on the news, on the mainstream media, that's showing me or telling me anything that's going on over there in France right now. So isn't it amazing how we either have fake news or we have no news? And right now we have no news on what's happening over there in Europe right now today. And what effects are we going to see here in America with what's happening in Europe? I think it will affect us one way or another. We got Brexit, I believe, on Wednesday. We got possible bank runs in France. We've got huge things happening over in Europe. Don't forget, Deutsche Bank is barely, a time bomb, a literal atomic nuclear bomb ready to go off with trillions of dollars in derivatives, huge trouble that could rock the entire globe. And yet, and we still have possible bank runs in France, Germany, heading into a recession, Brexit, and just a list of things going on over in Europe that are going to affect the entire world. Julian Castro, the 2020 Dem presidential hopeful, he says, and I quote, "We should not detain refugees seeking asylum." So here's another socialist that'll be running in 2020 who just believes anybody in the world should be allowed to enter the United States of America while you and I pay for it. And while he believes that, we have guys like this, MS13 illegal alien gang members charged with stabbing a fellow student. This was in Long Island. Here's another one. This happened 30 miles outside of the U.S. Capitol. MS13 associate allegedly secretly films sexual encounter with teenage girl for blackmail. So he was pimping out a 14-year-old girl. This is 30 miles from the Capitol building. And yet we should just continue to let all these nice people here into America. When are we going to see people stand up and show loyalty to America? I just do not understand why people are just standing down, not supporting this president for enforcing the laws and wanting to build a wall. So I'm going to end this video with a question. And the question is this: now that the Democrats are back in the House, we see and hear nothing but impeachment of Donald Trump. And the question is this. Now, I don't believe that Donald Trump will be impeached, but what if they got enough Republicans behind them? The Republicans are soft. I don't think many of them have deep loyalty to Donald Trump or this country, but they haven't sold out as hard as the Democrats have to socialism and the globalists. But let's just say that this became a real issue. And let's say that they were going to impeach Donald Trump. What would America do? Would America stand down? Has this country gotten so soft? Has it just come to the point where America now would just accept it? Are we that dumbed down? Are we that lazy? Have we lost that much fight inside of our spirits that we would just accept Donald Trump being impeached, and now we would just accept the socialist agenda of the Democratic Party now, which is now run and controlled by globalists, full of socialism, communism? Would we now as Americans, dumbed down, naive, lazy, stupid, Would we just accept this and go away? Or do we still have enough true Americans that would stand up and not allow this to happen? Would we at this point see a civil war and major civil unrest take place in America? Or is America at the point of no return where we would just accept it and move along as the newest socialist nation under globalism? I think that most people watching this video understand that this country is not heading in the right direction, that we are heading into a dark, scary place. We are heading in a very negative direction. And if the few good people left in America, the minority, don't stand up and stop this, we'll lose our country. God bless America. Guys, thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. I'll talk to you very, very soon. Have a great week. Listen, live life, to the best that you can. And this isn't to paranoid people. This is to wake people up. I don't think that prepared people should be paranoid. The people that should be paranoid are the people who are not prepared for what's coming. And there's people out there that have a real deep feeling that something's wrong, but they're not preparing. And those are going to be the paranoid people because they know deep down in their hearts that something is going to happen, but they don't want to admit it and they don't want to make the effort to prepare. And by doing so, you're going to jeopardize your future, your life, the physical safety of your family. So be awake. Don't be in denial. Get your head out of the sand. There are things coming to America and you need to be ready for them. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump. I will talk to you guys very, very soon. Again, live life to the extreme. Enjoy every day. Prosper. Enjoy. But be prepared. God bless you guys.